Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been doing a series of video presentations based on two Muroc books, Muroc's HTML5 and CSS3 4th edition, and Muroc's JavaScript and jQuery 2nd edition. These two books are part of, or the books for, the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Web Development, AWD1000 Web Development Technologies class. So far, I have done several presentations for all 20 chapters of the HTML5 and CSS book, and I have also done from the JavaScript and jQuery book the first 7 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. Now I've got the middle 5 chapters. So I'm going to jump right into Chapter 8, which I think is like getting a fast start with jQuery. There we go. The first thing to always realize when you start talking about jQuery is that jQuery is JavaScript. It's a JavaScript library, meaning it's scores of routines that have been created by other people for you and I to use. Use how? Well, as an example here, as it says, we can use jQuery to develop common DOM scripting applications. You can see them. I'm not going to read those to you. All right. So we're going to talk about jQuery and jQuery, its importance with being able to use it with CSS, talk about the use of jQuery selectors, methods, etc. Some of the jQuery selector syntax, some of the jQuery methods, talk a little bit about object chaining. All right. And, the regular, jQuery methods, jQuery event methods, the event object, the prevent default method, the this keyword, etc. Now, if you go out to here, which is jQuery.com, this is what you'll see. Now, it says here version 1.1.2 or 2.1.3, and you'll see how old that is, or how antiquated that is. Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down to jQuery.com. And it says the newest one is 3.3.1. But you'll notice if I make this smaller, it pretty much looks the same way that it looked in the slide here. All right, so it hasn't really changed much over time. What does jQuery offer? It offers the ability for you to do more with less. In other words, you can write less code yet achieve more. All right, as mentioned here, there are dozens of selectors, methods, etc. that you can use. It's built to be cross-browser compatible from the get-go. It's CSS3, which is the latest version of Cascade Style Sheets compliant, and it's a compressed library that loads quickly. Here's an example of how you can use jQuery. Now, we've done things like this before, creating an FAQ or a frequently asked questions page. You can do this virtually solely in CSS. You can do this solely in JavaScript. But doing it in jQuery will typically result in much, much, much less code. All right? So here's the HTML. Here's the CSS. Here's the jQuery. All right, so what you're saying here is anytime you click an ID named fax and an H2 tag underneath that, what you'll want to do is you'll want to change the plus to a minus or the minus to a plus and show what you just chose. Now, here's one way of downloading jQuery. You go to the jQuery.com page and really probably you just click the download button right there. Or you can go to download over here. All right. Now, but a couple things. You can download jQuery, number one. When you download it, kind of put a 1A and a 1B here, you can download the minified version of jQuery or the non-minified version of jQuery. So what's the difference? Let's take a quick look. All right. So if I say here, download jQuery, and I say to download the compressed version, look what I get. This is the minified file, so all the unnecessary white space has been removed. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, it'll load faster. You never, ever, ever should have to change anything in the jQuery file, and you really shouldn't. Other people have written it and tested it. But if you really want to see what's in there, I mean, if you got your heart set on looking at it, all right, you can always go in. Apologize for that. But you can go in and you can download the uncompressed version. And in that case, you're able to look at everything that's in there. It's the same file, but it's been uncompressed. So what's the difference? Well, the compressed version, as you'd guess, is much smaller, so it'll load faster. The non-compressed version gives you a chance to look at everything that's in there. Well, what if you don't want to do either one of those? What if you're like, you know what, I don't even want to download this file, period. Well, then what you can do is you can go out and you can use what's called a CDN, which is a content delivery network. And I'm going to just go grab here, I'll grab the Google CDN right here. What this says right here is if I want to grab the latest and greatest version of jQuery, rather than grabbing it and putting that file and copying it into my own system, I can link to it on the internet. And here's the path for it. Advantage. Well, number one, there's probably a pretty good chance that if the person is a regular internet user, they may already have the jQuery file in memory cached or whatever someplace. That's one advantage. Number two, it's going to load, your page is going to load even faster because it's one less file to load. Disadvantage. Number one, you are referencing something on the internet. So if for some reason you don't have internet capability, this isn't going to work. You know, and you could turn around and say, well, yeah, but now with all the different hotspots and everything else, you've got internet connectivity everywhere. That is not true. All right. So that's pretty much what they give you in here when they talk about the CDNs and the like. All right, if you're a history person, okay, 3.3.1 is the latest version, but since the book is a couple years old, that was the latest version once the book came out. I will tell you there was a big change, as you can see right here, when they went from the last version 1 to the first version 2. Version 1 supported IE6, IE7, and IE8. Starting with version 2, they are no longer supporting IE6, 7, and 8. All right. Now, I want to show you one thing very quickly before we even go on here, and from the jQuery website. So I'm going to go back. I'm at the website here. I'm going to go jump back up to the top. One more time. There we go. All right, so I'm jumping back up to the top. And as I mentioned to you before, I guess I can go up one more level. There we go. Notice it says download, API documentation, blog, plugins, and browser support. All right. Well, if you go to API documentation, if you click that, it brings you up to api.jquery.com. Well, if you look right here, in a nutshell, these are all of the different routines available to you in jQuery. So let's suppose I want to be able to fade something in. So I can click right here on fade in, and it'll give me the syntax or description of it, the syntax for how to use it, and typically they'll give me it right like this. It'll give me an example. All right. Now, I wouldn't typically do this, but I wanted to just show you this, and that is I'm going to click right here. I'm just going to save this as an HTML file. It doesn't have the tags. It doesn't have diddly in it. But I'm just going to save this as test.html. All right, and I'm going to try to run it. All right, it doesn't have, well, I guess it didn't do exactly what I thought it would do. But the point is this. All right, so it says here, here's an image for a book. All right, with the element initially hidden, you can show it slowly. And the idea is, that's the jQuery to make it work. So I'd have to surround this. I'd have to get the actual ID for it. All right, I was hoping to be able to show you something. In fact, I can. All right. I'm going off script a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm going to type in here jQuery UI, which is for user interface. All right. And I'm going to go out to jQueryUI.com. All right. And I'm just going to grab something from here. One of the things that we've already looked at is a frequently asked questions page. All right. And what is that known as? That is a well, how about if we use a toggle? All right. Well, notice if I use this toggle, I can show you how stuff works. See that? And what they do here, what's kind of cool, is if you click the view source, they've got a complete and total jQuery page. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go right back to the file I was just in. Control A, remove. Control V to paste. And I'm going to run it myself. Now, may not work perfectly because I'm probably referencing stuff that I don't have. Might not even come up. But the point is, what you can do is you can copy this code in directly. Superb way to learn about how jQuery works. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. This stuff that's in here, this SRI checking, all right, sometimes what you're going to find is if you copy in a CDN, you're going to get this integrity and this cross origin. The idea is what you want to make sure is that no third party has gone in and tampered with a copy of jQuery. All right. If you remember back in the day of JavaScript, we talked about using the $ as an alias. All right. And it was used as an alias for the document.getElementById. Well, in jQuery, we're going to use the $ also. And just as an example, let's see. Do we have some examples here? Here you go. $P says grab every paragraph in the entire document. $F, double quote P in parens gives all paragraphs. $ in parens, double quotes, $fax says give me the element with an ID of fax. This says give me the class that's called minus. I'm not going to go and read through each one of these, but you can also define relationships as are shown here. This is really powerful stuff. If you have taken the time to learn selectors in CSS, you will be able to become proficient in jQuery fairly quickly. Some of the more common jQuery methods are shown here. Again, it's not my intention to read. All right? So let's look. This is how you would grab the value. This says what I want is I want you to find the ID of gallons and grab its value, and whatever its value is, copy it over to a local JavaScript variable called gallons. All right? This, notice there's no equal sign, but if you put something in the double quotes, if you put something in the parentheses by the val, if there's nothing in there, it's a getter. If there's something in there, it's a setter. So you are changing its value. You can set the text for an element. All right, you can submit a form. Basically, you can do anything on a web page using jQuery. jQuery can work with events, and as it shows there, there's two common jQuery event methods. Ready, which runs when the DOM is ready, and clicked, which runs when an element is clicked. All right. Now, there's different ways that you can type this stuff in. You can type in $document.ready function, but if you want to, you can just use the $. The document.ready is assumed. A lot of people put this in anyway, the document.ready, because it's kind of a hallmark showing this is jQuery. So this says when I click any H2 heading, I want an alert to come up that says this heading has been clicked. Now, if you look in here, this says the same thing, all right? And notice the way that this stuff is all surrounded. You've got this, .click, and then a function This function is tied inside right there, parenthesis, parenthesis, semicolon. All right, you're going to notice that syntax all of the time when you're working with jQuery. So we talked about CDNs, a little bit about selectors, a little bit about methods. We'll see chaining in a bit. So they come back, they meaning the authors, come back and show you examples of some of the work that we've already done using things like Java, just regular JavaScript, but now we're going to be doing that with jQuery. Notice that you add jQuery. There has always been kind of a disagreement among developers. Do you add jQuery in the head section or do you add it in the body section? All right. Usually the reference to jQuery like this is added in the head, and whatever code you're going to use is put down in the body. All right. But there are no firm and fast rules on this. All right. Here is the jQuery for the email list application. And a couple things, if we look on here, 2 pages, okay? First, let's take it from the bottom. Notice what this is going to do right here. This is going to make sure that when we start to run the program, the first email address has the focus. So the cursor will be right there when we start. All right? This says when we click something with an ID of join list, which would be what? Right there, join our list. So when we click that button, what do we want to have happen? Well, we want to grab whatever was put into that first email text box and assign it to email address 1. We want to grab whatever was in that second email text box and assign it to address 2, email address 2. So that's this and this. Then we've got a Boolean flag called isValid. All right, and we come in here and we say, hey, if there was nothing in the first text box, we just want to set right here and have it say this field is required. You can see there's something in there. That's why it doesn't say anything. But if it's been left blank, we take our isValid flag and we set it to false because the whole thing's not valid. It doesn't pay to go on. Otherwise, we say don't put anything in here, and you notice there isn't anything in there. Then we come and make a similar check to see if there's nothing in field in the second text box, but we have to make sure the 2 are equal. You'll notice they're not. We've got Zach@yahoo.com and Zach@Yahoo. So that this entry must equal first entry. That is this right here. Finally, we come in and we validate that there's something in the first name. If we get all the way down to the bottom here, and our isValid flag is still true, meaning we put a value in here, we put a value in here, and these 2 values are the same, and we put a value in here. If we do all that, and then we click the join our list, we submit the form. Right there. All right. So here are some of the selectors. Let me check my time. I'm already at 18 minutes here. And I think I'm going to stop. Seems like a decent enough place to stop. And I will make this a 2-part lecture, so I'll be back shortly.